Here we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Industry Sessions. My name is Chris Wade, and I am your Music Forward host today. Music Forward is a national nonprofit organization inside the Live Nation family with a mission to transform young lives, inspire careers, and champion a more inclusive music industry. Music Forward provides artist development, career development programs to inspire the next generation. To check out our programs, find out more at the links in our chat. We're super excited today to bring you another episode of Industry Sessions where we connect our communities to the music industry and discuss current trends and career pathways. We have an exciting panel today and I'm eager to get started, so I wanted to invite our special industry guests to join me on camera, Diana Baez, Mariana Migliore, and Rebecca Rinks. Today, we're going to delve into music placement and music supervision. We all have a soundtrack to our lives, and the panelists with us today are here to talk about how to combine music and visual media to set the mood and provoke the emotions we all feel with movies, TV, commercials, and video games. So let's begin with our panelists telling us a little bit more about themselves. Let's start with Diana. Tell us more about your career and your journey within the industry.
Sure, thanks, Chris, and hi everybody. So excited to be here today. Just to share the quick overview of my career. So I've been in music and entertainment for about 16 years now. I've mostly focused in the world of synchronization. So that's placing music for film, TV, and advertising. I'm currently working for a publishing company entitled Anthem Entertainment, as it says here, but I've been so grateful to have started my career at Lionsgate Music and then evolving to a small sync company, Secret Road. And yeah, it's been fantastic being able to work with artists who aspire to have music in film, TV, and it's such a great honor to be able to have this role within the business. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Welcome. Mariana?
Hi, everyone. So glad to be here. Yep, my name is Mariana. I work at the creative scene team at BMG. I'm currently based in LA. And in my day-to-day, in my current role, my job is to try to procure placements in a variety of media, ranging from scripted TV to advertisements, sports TV, video games, for the songs by the songwriters and artists that we represent. As far as how I got here, I'm originally from Argentina. I was lucky enough to attend Berklee College of Music and I majored in music business. And that's kind of where I learned about what sync and music supervision was and determined myself to work in this industry. And I was lucky enough after I was finished with Berklee to be hired at BMG. I've been in the company for 6 years now. I started working in a different capacity that was supporting the scene team, and I slowly climbed my way up to being where I'm currently am. So yeah, that's it.
Welcome, Mariana. I got my master's from Berklee International in Valencia, Spain. So we have a little bit of kindred spirits there.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Rebecca.
Hi, everyone. I am a music supervisor and have been for, I'm going to date myself, but since about 2004. To give you a little perspective, the way that I would work with someone like Mariana or Diana is that they would be pitching to someone like me the music that they represent in their catalogs. So we work in tandem, but kind of on different parts of the equation. I started out right out of college working at Lionsgate Films, and since then have gone on to be an independent music supervisor. I just came off of 10 years at NBC Entertainment, and now I'm back to being independent again. So I'm excited to share with you a little bit of that journey.
Awesome. Welcome, Rebecca. Thank you very much. So I think we should just start the conversation kind of level set, because we hear a lot about music supervision. It's a very trendy term right now within the industry. But could you explain to us actually what music supervision is and the process of how it actually works?
Me?
I'll let you start, Rebecca.
Music supervision, what it is. In gist, I would say it is the role of putting music into media projects. That could mean television show, that could mean an ad, that could mean a web series, that could mean a commercial, a video game, film, of course. It really runs the gamut. But it's really that art of syncing music to a moment in picture.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And so how does a person become a music supervisor or even a music curator or someone working in the sync space? So how did it happen for you, Rebecca? And I would love for Diana and Mariana to contribute to how they got to this particular stage in their career.
Well, I am just old lady enough that classes like this did not exist whenever I was in college. So I guess people today are very lucky that that kind of thing has grown to being, known enough to warrant an entire class for it. But I also went to college to study music industry. I went to USC and graduated from there with a music industry degree. This didn't, exist whenever I was there, but I very much fell into it. After school, I was figuring out what I was going to do, and I had been very close to one of my professors there, who was the chair of the music industry department. And long story short, he hooked me into this position that I ended up at Lionsgate Films. And at the time, I didn't really have any concept of what music supervision was, and it really wasn't a very known and recognized thing at that point. It was just something that I think that people did because you wouldn't have a film that was quiet. You wouldn't have a TV show that had no music or no score or no songs in it. Clearly, it was something somebody somewhere executed, but I don't really think it was a very known quantity then. So I very much fell into it. I wish I had a different or better, more compelling story for you than that, but that's exactly what happened.
Sounds like you fell in the right place, though. That's the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
Mariana, you want to tell your story of how you got to become an executive on the sync side?
Yeah, so for me, likewise, I majored, as I said, in music business, but still I felt that it was such a specific path, the one that I wanted to go into as far as sync supervision, that I felt that I needed, of course, when you're right out of college, you don't have, like, your resume is pretty much your education, and maybe if you did a few internships. So in my case, I couldn't land an internship exactly in the sync world, so that wasn't helping. But at least something that I did, and I don't know if this was sneaky or not, but I would just list the classes that were pertinent to a sync job. So for example, music publishing, record label operations. I took a music supervision and licensing class, which was like on the nose, but perfect. So I felt that helped when sending resumes. And as far as getting the BMG job, once they saw, okay, this is an entry-level job supporting the sync department, she clearly has an interest. Also at that point, I know it's tedious for every job application, but cover letters, simply explaining what you want to go into, I was very specific, like, this is what I want to do. And I think that helped me land the job at BMG. And after that, it was just, I was in a team that supported the sync team, but still not in the sync team. So I kept thinking, okay, how do I get there? So from that point, it's about just talking to people, your colleagues in the office and whatnot. Yeah, I really like this show. I really like this supervisor. I really like, hey, if you're working on this show, let me make you a playlist. Even though that wasn't part of my responsibilities, just showing that you're willing to do the work. And eventually it became obvious that everybody knew that I wanted to be on that team. So I had to wait for the timing. Once the position was open, it just made sense for me to, they knew I wanted it. So it finally made sense for me to move over. And yeah, for that, I have to thank Alex Flores, who was in the team at the time, that, yeah, just brought me over. So yeah, I would have to say, if you want to work in sync, just trying to find, it doesn't matter. I do interview our interns at BMG, and I do get resumes that necessarily I'm not looking at the music business program or anything like that, but I do want to see, at least in a cover letter or somewhere hidden in the resume, an interest in music for media. And from there, you know, as long as you're interested in learning about it, you know, people will give you a chance. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the story. I mean, just being so focused in terms of specifically wanting to do just one particular discipline within the business. That's amazing. Diana, anything you would like to share?
Yeah, I would. Well, I think, you know, Mariana, I'm gonna congratulate that hustle and that determination, because I think in anything that you do, but especially in this particular line of work, I mean, like, you know, being consistent, showing your love and going above and beyond what you're expected to do. I think those are like the great recipes, right, for any position and any field, but specifically this one where, you know, it is about the drive, the hustle, and the attention to detail and being able to go after that opportunity. I started out a little bit differently. I also went to USC, but I had no idea what music supervision was until literally the last 2 months of school. I actually started out as a broadcast journalist. So I think the similarity to what I wanted to do and what I do now is, at that point, I wanted to share the stories of my community. So I'm Mexican American. And, you know, fast forward to what I do now, I represent the musical stories of my artists. So I consider this job to be, you know, just a gift, and being able to represent artists and have their music be a part of cultural moments. And I think that's what I love about Sync, and kind of how slowly but surely I got here. So I started out in the broadcast journalism program at USC, transitioned to communication, had a couple of great internships. One opportunity led to another. And, you know, here I am almost 16 years later. You know, I will say some great ingredients that I hear are a common denominator between Rebecca, Mariana, and myself are, you know, you may not always know what that next exact step is, but I think being interested, being passionate, being able to communicate that to your peers, the people that are potentially going to hire you. It's, you know, it's making that playlist when your job isn't to make playlists. You know, it is to have connections with your professor, so you never know who they're going to know, right, that can hook you up with the next opportunity. And we have to remember that at the end of the day, this is a people business. We're fortunate enough to represent artists and being as diligent and honest as possible with the artist. And it is about taking care of supervisors like Rebecca, getting them what they need when they need it and how they want it. And I think lastly, for me at this point of my career, you know, for me, I think it's such an incredible honor to be able to be at the intersection of like music and culture. And I think, you know, with Rebecca and Mariana and myself, that's the gift that we have, that we're able to be a part of an ecosystem that allows us to, you know, pitch a song, choose a song, and have that be a part of something that's going to be recorded forever. I mean, like, you know, that to me is amazing. And I think, you know, as long as however your path is to get there, once again, I think as long as you show heart, you show hustle, and you're a good person, people will see that and then will want to help you along the way.
Very wise words. I agree 100%. If I'm an artist, right, and I'm trying to get my song placed, what is the process that I have to go through for that to happen? Do I contact, you know, a music supervisor? Do I contact a sync person? Like, can you help our audience really understand what that process looks like? If that's a goal of theirs, to have their composition sync to a visual medium.
You know, I'll start if that's okay with you all, Mariana and Rebecca. I think from, you know, just having worked at a boutique agency and then the kind of like, you know, mid-company music publishing company, you know, I think I said this before, but I think it's the trust, right? It's the trust between the artist and the person perhaps helping them to the supervisor, right? Because so there's the creative part, great music, but one, we have to make sure that the music is going to be the best fit for the show. So the artist, independently of working with someone like an agency like myself, or independently, like they need to know like if their music is great for the show. And then from the other side, from the business side, is making sure that they have all their paperwork in order to make sure that, you know, they do indeed have the rights to be able to send it to the supervisors, so they then can, you know, pitch music. But just taking it back for like my perspective, I think researching the sync companies that exist, I've mentioned one, Secret Road is one. They are a boutique agency, and you're not signing away your life. It's just literally a small deal amount of time, like a year, 12 months, that your music gets represented. And then you have this agent, so to speak, that can help represent you and work on your behalf. I think that's a really great first step. And then the second thing, if you're still trying to figure out what those companies are, having some kind of presence online, because I also hear about supervisors just finding music, right? So if you can be a part of that ecosystem, having a legit like IG page, SoundCloud, Spotify, if you have people writing about you, and having them share your music, I think that's also another way.
Yeah, I would just add to that. Also, while you're doing the research on what Diana just mentioned, like what sync agencies are out there, make sure you study a bit the roster that they have, just to make sure that you're sending, your music for a company that is representing a set or roster or genre that fits your style, right? Because that usually helps. And also, one thing is to reach out blindly, with just like, hey, here's my music, you have to check it out, which, just with the amount of competition that is out there, they don't. But if you're a bit more specific, like, hey, I'm very interested in your company, I saw that you represent blah and blah, and I'm a fan of them, I love their music, and I think this is what I do, and I think that you could use this, or I noticed you don't have this in your repertoire, so I wanted to submit my music for consideration. That sort of respectful approach that shows that you investigated them, you did the research to know what they do, that you respect their time listening. I think that goes a long way when reaching out to either sync agencies, or I was gonna add production music houses. Sometimes are continuously sourcing composers or just sets of songs. I know at BMG, the BMG production music arm, they have their website. So for example, I would recommend going to their website and see how they package music. Typically, they package it in EPs or volumes. So they do 4 to 5 songs EP of swaggery, bluesy songs. So maybe could you replicate that with your music? Could you package it in a way that it makes it easy for them? Like, hey, I have this, upbeat, uplifting, anthemic set of songs that I thought would be good for a package like the ones you have in your website. Always going back to what they're already doing, so that they know that you are aware. So, yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Rebecca, any thoughts on how an artist can get their song placed?
I'm going to back it up even further and say that there's a whole life that needs to happen before anybody even attempts to do that. Because first and foremost, it's super important for every artist to self-educate about how best to capitalize and exploit their own art. It is no one's job on this panel to do that for you. And it is very hard to come off of the first impression of contacting someone and having them interested in your music, only to then find out that you don't have your business affairs together, you don't understand if you own your recordings, if you have a co-writer you think you're not sure, or maybe the producer is getting a part of this. All those boring nuts and bolts things in those publishing classes that you've maybe taken, and all that business affairs stuff that is a snore to you, the three of us have to navigate day in and day out, and it kills good ideas and great music all the time. So first and foremost, know what you're doing, know what you have, and have it packaged so that hopefully you get somebody on the hook and they're interested, and then you can say, I got it all ready to go. I know I have it packaged for you. I know exactly what the splits are for this. I've got the recording for that. I've got the instrumental for that, ready to go, because you only have one opportunity to make a first impression with anybody. And, the two ladies have already said everything that needs to say for sure about what it means and how relevant it is to contact sync agents. I will say that just to get at someone in my position expressly is very hard simply because we have a very luxury problem. All three of us have the luxury problem of being inundated by music all day, every day. This is a great problem to have as far as I'm concerned, but it just ends up meaning that there's a lot of noise to cut through because, you know, I've been doing this for 15 years. Every single person that I've ever met that might think that it could be, I don't want to say useful, but you know what I mean, that we might have the opportunity to work together. I get emails from managers, publishers, sync people, other music supervisors, labels, agencies, production music people. You're in this rarefied space, thankfully, where there's a host of people in the entertainment industry who would have reason to work with you, and it's valuable to them for them, their company or their artist. So the sheer volume of email that I get day in and day out with hopefully great music, it's a lot. It's a lot. And it is an unwinnable war to attempt to get through it all. So also don't take that personally if you don't hear back from somebody, or it takes a minute, or if you're questioning whether you should or shouldn't follow up. It's just one of those things. There's a lot of information flying around.
Thank you for that. So there's a question from the audience from Ellen Hiller. It says, hi, I'm intrigued and curious to learn more about what these careers entail, and if those of us who are versed in other fields and backgrounds such as social work and education can enter these. Anyone can feel free to take that one.
I will answer that. So it is my particular belief that in music, it doesn't really, there's no like specific thing that I think you need to learn, right, study. Although obviously music publishing, music rights, incredibly important. But I think it goes back to what I mentioned earlier. I think eventually knowing the business, so taking a class, reading a book about the business is essentially important. And like everything else is all about people. So, doing research on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on executives that you like, studios, production, artists, teams, managers, right? So it really starts doing like the due diligence of like trying to figure out, okay, how do I get connected with these people? For me, I've been in positions where I've hired people before, and personally for me, what I look for in somebody, independently of their educational background, is, or even maybe experience, is passion, drive, and the ability to learn. And do they give off good vibes? I don't know if that's a little bit too like, woo-woo, but I think, as Rebecca just made clear, it's like, we are in positions of luxury where there's a constant flow of information coming our way, a great amount of talent. And, we need great people on our teams to be able to like undertake that and do the best job possible for those artists that we work with and the supervisors that we get the opportunity to work with as well. So having said that, yes, it doesn't matter what your background, but definitely like if you're serious about this, take a class. There's plenty of classes now that that have to do with publishing and such. Read a book, look up interviews from your favorite supervisors or favorite show supervisors, and show that while you may not have the work experience, you have the desired determination and you've done your homework to be in those conversations.
Thank you very much. So another question came in. It's kind of part of something you just said, Diana. The question is from IN, do you get listening fatigue, and how do you decide what to listen to? And what resources are the most useful to you? And I'm sure everyone can answer this question because you listen to a lot of stuff, I'm sure, all the time.
Yeah, so do I get listening fatigue? Oh yeah. Like Rebecca said, we just get, I can't imagine Rebecca's inbox, but from only being at BMG on the pitching side, my inbox is full of music. So I can imagine what it would be if you're receiving that from every label and publisher. So it's pretty intense. And I have to say, due to the volume of music, I find myself listening, just skipping through songs and listening to 30-second snippets, which is not the ideal way to listen to music. From the creative sync perspective, at my role, I have to, as far as the sources, I have to listen to what we control, because that's ultimately what I can service, what I should be servicing to the clients that we work with. So that comes via, we are a hybrid, we are a record label and a publisher. So whether we have direct relationships with the songwriters themselves, and they send us the new music that they're writing, they send us demo. Sometimes we reach out to them saying, hey, I'm working on this upcoming video game, I need tracks like this, can you send me what you have? So we source that. But also there's constant internal communication from label reps, just letting us know upcoming single, upcoming album. There's also teams that do specific playlists just to make us aware of some catalogs that either are new to the company, or maybe some gems that they want to increase the sync activity on. So the sync team is always getting exposed to listen to this, check this out, and just we're trying to get our focus or our attention to certain parts of the catalog that the company wants us to increase the sync activity for. As far as on the personal side of how I source just music that I like for my own pleasure, is the usual Spotify and reading blogs and just magazines and whatnot. But for my day-to-day, I would say it's mainly what's in the BMG universe.
Got it.
Sure, I'll share just a quick, just probably very similar. There's definitely moments where, with what we do, we have deadlines probably from the hour to hour, right? At least from the pitching side as well. And, hopefully we do get the opportunities to work with like the Rebeccas of the world. And so we're very, obviously fortunate if we're able to do that. So it is kind of interesting because you have to kind of cleanse your sonic palette to work on the next project, because one could be like hip hop, the next is like rock, and the next like classical. So being able to pivot is really important and have like a buffer in between that. Since working at home, to be honest with you, I have TV on sometimes just so I can kind of like sonically just differentiate. But literally for music, I'm playing that like when I wake up and before I go to bed. I listen on my own. I listen to a lot of Latin music and a lot of music from the UK. And then likewise, Instagram, Tidal, Spotify, and then following people that I like on Instagram and like seeing who they're liking, right? So that's how I kind of check out new music as well.
I use so many ways to find music. Back in the days when we could go to shows, it's coming back. But back in the day when we used to go to shows in the back times, I'm the person that would see 100+ shows a year. And I'm a very, very, very big live music person. And I firmly believe if you like a band and you're going to see them live, research the opening band. Who's the opening band? Who's opening for the band that you like? Like, get acquainted with that. A few years ago, I started doing this thing on Twitter called Morning Wake Up, where I forced myself 5 days a week during the work week. I would get up in the morning, I'm getting ready for work, and I would play a new record and I would tweet about it. And it was like this kind of alone time for myself where I actually got to listen to a whole record and not do the thing that we all three do, which is that 30-second, like getting acquainted, next. So I still do that, and I listen to at least one new artist or record a day that I try and listen to in full. I do a thing called Spotify Roulette, and sometimes I'll just put like a letter or two into Spotify, and the first artist that comes up that I don't recognize, I'll listen to that and check that out. Spotify also has a really dope feature that you can go into their top lists, and it'll pull up the viral 50 and the top 50 from like tons of countries. You can listen to Greece and the Philippines and Portugal and all these places and just see what is tracking there and get acquainted with music in other territories and other countries. And in general, I'm a very voracious consumer of music. And there's super value in understanding the breadth of music, because to really be in a role like this, I want to debunk now the idea that this type of job is only for people who think they make great playlists or think they have great taste, or that they listen to great music and they feel like it would go in a certain place and it would be great in this show or in this commercial. That's clearly part of it, but you have to be, in a lot of ways, musically agnostic. You can't just listen to things you like all day. I don't listen to things I like all day. None of us do. So there is value to understanding the depth of decades, the depths of styles of music, and being able to talk in some sort of educated fashion about any and all of it. So if there's a period of music that I'm not familiar with and I have time, I'll often just go, okay, well, I'm going to go listen to big band music from the 40s and just check it out. So I know. Or, I'm going to listen to some, like deep Afrobeat and just see if something dope is happening there. Just so if somebody asks me for something, I'm going to have some place to start. It is about exploration. It's not just about consuming the thing that you like, for sure.
It's funny, Rebecca, I was going to ask, that was my, go ahead. You got it.
No, I was going to say the thing that you like or the thing that always try to expand.
I was just about to ask that question, because most people tend to like maybe a couple of genres, maybe 5 at most, for even like a really good music listener, where you have to really kind of know a little bit about everything. Like how does one get to that level of skill where they can listen to a song that may not be something they're familiar with from a genre that they really know very well, but also identify how the song can fit well in a particular video or film or TV? Like, how do you train your ear to get to that level of science about it?
I think it really just comes with the time and experience of understanding what augments picture. That's also part of the fun of it, is trying things on and seeing how they fit, right? But it comes back to that depth of knowledge and that passion for constantly consuming and learning, because it's infinite. It is infinite. And we talked before everyone hopped onto the chat that this viewing audience is people who are pretty young. We often would have interns and stuff at my office that, I'd say that something sounds like the Talking Heads or whatever, and they're like, who's that? Leave this office, go listen to the Talking Heads, and then come back, and then we'll go back to work. Like, educate yourself about what's out there, and then you get a greater depth of understanding about where the places are that you could go with a visual media, like where you could take it.
Love it. Thank you very much. Kind of going back more to the placement side. If I'm an artist and I'm interested in getting placed, right? Do I need to be signed to a label, have a publishing deal, or can I be independent and get my music placed in a film or TV show or ad?
I'm happy to start on this one. So the answer is no, you don't necessarily have to be signed to a label or publisher to get placed. But as Rebecca was mentioning, the fact that knowing what you're doing a little bit, so you can't just say you're producing music, you're sampling stuff that you like, and you want to send that for consideration. You have no idea about the fact that you need to get clearances for those samples, that won't be able to get licensed, that sort of stuff. So you can totally get placed, but just you still have to get educated about the rights that you represent, that you control, and how those ultimately will get licensed. I would say the benefit of being signed is that to a publisher or a label is that there will always be somebody guiding you through that process. And also, as far as, making sure that the music gets to the right ears, there will be already an existing lane or relationship with a music supervisor, through that label or publisher, to get your music submitted, which gives you, you're starting at a different point that whether you're going the totally independent route. So, but both are possible. It's just that, yeah, the step of still learning about the business, you still have to educate yourself on that. And we've talked about reaching out and how to present yourself. So it goes back to that a little bit.
Yeah, just to add just one last thing, just to close that off is, as I mentioned, I worked for a company called Secret Road, boutique company. They acted as just like representatives. They didn't have any ownership of music. I think that's a different differentiation, right? When you're signed to a label or to a publishing company, you're basically sharing your ownership of music with this entity because they're giving you money, right? And a company like just sync companies, really, they should only be taking a commission of, if something lands like on a TV show, they should only be taking a percentage of the overall monies, right? And so, yeah, I think the same thing. And the idea is the same. They are there to guide you and hopefully help you have your paperwork in order. So I just want to just, the last thing is, we keep talking about, rights in this. The reason is because, right, we don't want companies don't want to get sued, right? Or to bring down projects or products, because that's can be $1 million cost. That's why we talk about having your paperwork in order, because so many deals have been lost, as Rebecca was saying, when things are not in order. So, 100%, the art is the art and is incredibly important, but you need to 50% have that coupled with making sure everything is super tight. So then the business part of it can be smooth. So that's incredibly important.
Thank you. And so, second, sorry. Oh, I lost my question, y'all. Forgive me. If I'm an artist, and how do I know that my music is good for being placed? Because every song is not really good for a TV spot or what have you. But what are the signals that you get from songs that let you know this is a good song that can be placed or should be considered for placement? How does an artist start to develop that understanding of their music?
I'll start if that's cool. Oh, Rebecca, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
This is from this standpoint. So as I mentioned, I knew I wanted to at some point work in music, but at the end of the day, I think it's kind of the idea of you have to be your biggest fan and your biggest believer. I think you start there. So I think you need to believe that, and but in addition to that, I think the fact that you just asked that question, being self-reflective. So I think there's music that's just undeniable and it's gonna work no matter what, right? And I think the other thing too is being listening, right? Are you watching TV? Are you watching commercials? Are you listening to video games? What do you notice, right? And so I'll say, for example, for film and TV, usually, are there universal themes, right? Are the universal themes, is there a story? Would it work well to dialogue, or do you have just the instrumental only of the music that could really help uplift a scene? So if you're a singer-songwriter and I don't know, Grey's Anatomy, does your music fit in that world? Okay, you start developing a curation. For ads or promos for TV or film, you notice that they're hooky songs that get to the point and that helps drive the visual forward. So it's knowing hopefully you're just an avid, or that you're watching things that you enjoy already and kind of picking out oh yeah, this brand always uses this kind of music. Is my music this way? And so I think asking those questions.
Thank you. Anyone else have a perspective on how an artist knows if their music is good for licensing?
I think it is a double-edged sword question, because you really shouldn't be thinking about that. You should be making music that is organic and authentic to you, and not making something that is purposeful or paint by numbers. You know, we get inundated with stuff that is, you know, bent for sync, made for sync, you know, especially created for sync. And at a certain point, all of that becomes one sonic pellet. So I personally just don't think that you shouldn't even think about that. You should just be making music that speaks to you. And, you know, truthfully, there's only a handful of genres that I've ever come across that it's just like, I don't know what we're going to do with this. It feels like it depends on the project and depends on where you're going with it, because certain brands have a certain type of style and equity, and certain shows, of course, have a curated sound. As the ladies have mentioned, you know, you need to self-educate about watching those things and thinking, like, would my music fit there? But as far as anybody, you know, pivoting their artistry to make it more friendly to film and TV, I actually am not a fan of that. I think that you should just do you, and hopefully it will fall into place. And to back it up to your original or your previous question about, you know, labels and publishers, no offense to the publisher ladies and to the soon to be record executive over here, Miss Diana, but the barrier to entry to becoming a successful musician is so vastly different than when any of us even started in this business. You don't really have to be on a label or be with a publisher to grow your own audience and to gain steam. It really should just be about you building your sound, you building your audience, you finding the people that naturally gravitate to what you're doing, and then finding ways to wield and harness that and propel it forward for yourself. And if a label is part of that, or a publisher is part of that, or a sync representative is part of that, more power to you. But it is not, you know, that's like old music business concept that you have to get signed to a label to be able to do anything. It's just not the way it is anymore, especially if you're doing what you need to do online. So.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So to that point, when you are looking at artists or searching for artists on social media, what are the things you're looking for on their profiles that make you pay attention, or may say, I want to listen more to their catalog and see if there's something there that I can use? Anybody?
Actually more shocked than anything that so many artists have music out there and no contact information.
Oh.
It is shocking to me that you would deign to put something out into the world that you're asking people to participate in or experience and hope that something happens for you, but then someone like me or one of us can't email you about it, can't contact you about it. Or, you know, it goes into some black hole of a DM, or, you know, we've all tweeted to people, you've slid into people's DMs, you're trying to get people to respond to you. And this happens at every level. This happens with people that you're thinking to yourself, I'm bringing somebody an opportunity. This is going to be great for them. This is going to be great for me. This is great for this project, all the way up to massive stars. And it is a common problem. Have your contact info.
That's a must. Mariana?
I wanted to add, yeah, I had a situation last year in which, from a publisher perspective, I'm oftentimes pitching covers of our copyrights. So I found this really cool cover. I bought it from iTunes. I pitched it to a client. They wanted to license it, but they were like, can you help us track the master information, because we can't find it anywhere. And I remember I spent like 2 days messaging. I messaged the band on Instagram and Facebook, no response. Then I found who the individual members were, tried to find them, each one of them, message all of them. It took me like 3 days finally for someone to respond. And that would be as easy. I understand that you can't put like your phone or your personal email if you're in a band, and hopefully, you know, you're getting a following, you don't want to get bombarded, but at least having an email that you make that for licensing inquiries, reach out to blah, or for in booking inquiries, just having something that people that are interested in either hiring you for a show or license your music can reach out, because it's same as Rebecca. It's pretty amazing when the music is out there and it's great, but there's like no way to contact the band.
Thank you. Diane, any perspective on that in terms of social media, what you're looking for?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's always kind of like there's no science to it, but I think it's like a feeling, right? So as an example, as I'm like watching something on TV and I just happen to be scrolling through whatever, like Instagram or Spotify, if it makes me like do like a double take sonically, sure. Like I always kind of like, oh, like who's this? What's this? For me, I think Rebecca said it well. It's like it's an exploration, but I think at the end of the day, it's a feeling, right? Like for me at least, right? Not just from things that I personally love, but things that are just like interesting. And in my what I do, we do have a lot of music that comes through, and so I kind of, in terms of signing, I rely on like my contacts for suggestions and or just random submissions, and we have listening sessions as teams. So from a work perspective, we try to gather everything up. There's somebody that does kind of like a pre-clear of like sonic sounds, and then we listen through. And how we judge what we sign, for example, is this interesting? Do we have the sound already? Do we not? And is it something that we feel that our supervisor friends are asking for, right? And then, or sometimes you just take a chance on something because you like it. And again, just for me, just in terms of being a lover of music, as I said, as I'm just scrolling through and I do a double take, I'll always go back and like, oh, like who's this? What's this? Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. We're now going to open up the questions to one of our students. So can you please come up and ask some questions to our panelists?
Hi guys. Thank you so much for speaking today. It's been so great learning more about what you guys do. It's so cool. So my question is, Diana touched a bit on how working in sync and music supervision is kind of like an ecosystem of culture and storytelling in general. So do you guys ever consider the impact of creating more representation for women or people of color when you're placing music?
Yeah, of course. I think that we are thankfully in a very rarefied part of the entertainment industry where there's already a lot of parity when it comes to at least the gender aspect. There's so many both women and men that are part of the music supervision community, and it's I think it's not just the music supervisor and creative sync community's job to help create that diversity and that parity among hearing and seeing and experiencing more of these voices. It's a collaborative effort that starts with the types of projects that are greenlit, the executive level at studios and things, and who they're casting and bringing in to do score and to be music supervisor. I mean, it's a mixture of all of those things together, but the music supervisor, for instance, is definitely someone who has to be working with a whole host of people on a project. It's not just, one of my old bosses used the term that you're always painting someone else's house. Like all three of us are painting someone else's house. So at the end of the day, I can present a lot of great options when it comes to this style of paint and this color and this type of song, and what if we did it this way? But you're always, in some way, shape, or form, the three of us in our own path are always having to collaborate and working with someone else to realize their vision. So it is a very collaborative push forward to make that diversity happen. And that's one of the joys of music. And that's why it's so great to be educated about music of all types, because you want to, as a music professional, be the person that pushes that forward?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think the best that I can answer it is, especially with like last year and what's been happening on a social and political level, I will say that it's been interesting, at least with some of the supervisors and their projects that they work on, that they have been mindful of making sure that vocally there's sounds that are representative of like groups that have, maybe not have had as much representation, whether that be women, LGBTQ plus, Latino, African American. And so I think there has been, I think we're having those conversations to make sure that, sonically that this exists. So I think in terms of like, for me at least, that causes me to question, okay, I'm looking at our roster and I'm chatting with my team. I'm just like, okay, are we diverse enough, right? From sound to how we represent ourselves, right? The gender and so forth, culturally. And so, I think, as Rebecca was saying, it is, there's a lot of different components in it, but I think the wonderful thing is those questions are being posed and causing us to reflect as well. So then therefore we'll be in positions to say, you know what, we really should be able to look at this and realize that we really should, be mindful of being able to represent these types of music. So I think we still have ways to go, but we're, I think, on the path.
Yeah, and on my side, as Rebecca was saying, as much as we could try to make playlists as diverse as possible, but ultimately we're contrived by the certain direction of some projects where they're asking, we want male vocals for the search. It's like, okay, I have to follow that guideline. But I do have to say that more and more I'm seeing searches, especially probably it's more on the advertisement space, that are asking for more diverse options and whatnot. And when I do notice a gap in our repertoire, I usually go and complain to our A&R department, just letting them know, like, hey, I was working on this and I realized that we don't have any females in this genre, or I couldn't find that many. How come we don't have anybody that represents this group? So it's a matter of letting them know, like, hey, there's a demand. Like, we have seen clients asking for this, we don't have anything. Like, what can we do about it? So those are conversations, I have to say, are very recent, since last year, that I'm seeing are opening up, and and that those started happening. So
if I can add to that quickly, thank you, Mariana. I was just reminded of something. I don't know if it was like Twitter or Instagram last year, for those of you who are like fans of Cardi B and like artists like Rhapsody, right? And I guess the question, I forget which artist made the comment or question of like, why don't you go make more music that's like XYZ, like Rhapsody, right? Like more like conscientious type of music. And she was like, that's the kind of music I want to make. So, that's respect. And the second thing is like, and that's what people want to listen to. So, going back to the idea that everybody has a part to play in this, it's like, things, art aside for a second, the things that we as a society choose to contribute to purchase, to lend our time to lend our ears to, that is all, you have to understand that we are all being catered to based on who's participating in this ecosystem of life, right? In the economy and culture consumption. And so 100%, those of us who are in positions of decision-making, that responsibility is 100% on us. But I think also as a conscientious member of just like society, it's like, we also need to invest in the things that we want more of. So I for sure bet you that, I don't know, like Dove, for example, right? Like they have made campaigns that are inclusive of all body types and cultures and so forth. And so they got the memo that if they want their products to sell, then they need to be making creative campaigns that are going to be as widely representative as possible. So going back to the question, circle around, is 100% on us, but we invite listeners and fans to also contribute to that with what they choose to buy and listen and go see live.
Awesome, thank you. I think it's really interesting how music supervisors and people who work in sync have to think about culture in general and the climate of pop culture and all that kind of stuff when thinking about placing music and how diversity plays into everything. So thank you guys for answering.
Thank you, Mia.
Thank you.
So one last question before we go. Well, first and foremost, we want to acknowledge the fact that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and everyone knows that the music industry can be a very stressful business. I would like to know how you all take care of yourselves, especially your mental health, just to make sure that you're staying in tip-top shape to do the best work. And what's your best piece of advice to young people about how to develop those practices early? Anyone can start.
What a deep question. I don't know. I think that you have to just you can't be stuck inside the house in front of the computer. You have to get out. You have to get out and not just be in front of a device all day. No offense, we're all in front of devices right now. But that's been the most important thing to me, just in the months and months and months and months of working from home, is that at some point you have to just stop working. Similarly with listening to music, being in a position such as this will irrevocably change the way that you consume music, that for better or worse. We're all, whether we want to or not, are probably listening to music with a more discerning ear than just the average consumer who's listening to the radio or listening to something that they enjoy. So there's value in just distancing yourself from your work. I think you have to do that in order to stay enjoying your work, because creative passions, while they are creative and you are being passionate about what you do, are still a grind in their own way, and can be a grind, and you need to retain that interest and that love in what you're doing. And if that means that you need to just take a little space from actually being at work, don't be at work.
Great point. Mariana, how do you take care of yourself?
Yeah, it's funny because the minute you asked this question, I went to the participants list to make sure if there were any coworkers connected. But yeah, Diana, you do. Just to be able to talk openly. But I have to say, in anything, any type of work that we're doing, I'm sure this happened to everybody. The burnout at some point was very real. And I don't know if it was because we just went through a pandemic and, questions about job security and whatnot. I just dived into work so much that it got to a point that it wasn't healthy, and I got really burnt out. So I realized that was wrong. So I'm not doing that anymore. And, just learning that there's something about, feeling lucky about the job that you do. I struggle with this a lot. I feel super lucky, but then I feel that because of that, I have to give my life to it. And then I end up, that doesn't work. I end up getting burnt out and depressed and whatnot. So something that I learned is that I love what I do, but I'm ultimately not what I do or what I'm making. I'm a person first. So just setting limits to, okay, today I did everything that I wanted to do. At 6, I'm gonna disconnect. Like, I'm sorry, but I need to disconnect and do something else other than work, because there's a beautiful life out there. So just trying to set limits and knowing, being aware of myself and my thinking when I go into that spiral of, well, but this is what I want to do, and I need to work more, and I need to send that email, and then just stop in it and know that you're doing enough. You are enough as a person, regardless of your job or your activity, and that's it. And taking a chill pill and just like, yeah, not being, just being aware of that feeling of having to overwork and whatnot. Thankfully, at BMG, there's some very useful resources that they gave us. They gave us access to apps like Headspace and meditation and yoga and things like that. That once again, dealing with this balance of the guiltiness of, well, but they're giving me yoga, but I feel guilty that I'm gonna take an hour to do it. It's literally like, no, just stop. They are offering it. Just take it. Just do it. It's for you. It's for your well-being. So yeah.
Mariana, I wish I wish I would have heard that conversation much earlier in my life. So thank you for saying that. I mean, you dropped a lot of really good advice. I think for myself specifically, I'm at an age now where there's things that I decide to invest in. And I think, Rebecca was saying one, like literally like going outside, seeing the sun, moving your body, I think is incredibly important. I meditate, so I find that very helpful. And it's not that I'm good at meditation, but the idea of just like pausing for a second, I think it's great. And I think also for those of you who are artists, I think there's a lot of opportunity in that, like in between of like doing, where you can really just kind of like be inspired again. And then I think likewise, it's very real, this, and I talked about hustling, but I think there is something where you do overdo it. And I think that can actually lead to really like curtailing your advancement in your career. So I think, this idea of like, I think, and that's what you have to like assess, like how much is too much, right? I know for some artists that music is their life, and that is how they represent themselves to the world. But I think you're right. I think in order to be a fully realized individual, I think there needs to be attention to all parts of our life. And the power of writing, I just learned this. I have my own holistic coach, and the power of just like jotting things down so you like free up your space is an incredible exercise. And then for me, I have a therapist, so great investment as well. So for those of you who are able to, I think talking to somebody who doesn't know you, who won't judge you, and to have a safe space would be incredible.
Awesome, great answers for everybody. I really appreciate you all being, vulnerable and candid about what worked for you and giving advice to our students. Unfortunately, this is the end of the time that we have. I would love to talk a lot longer, but we have to say goodbye. Thank you to each of you for sharing your insights and for everyone joining us today.